So much of this shutdown has come down to one thing, one big issue, and it's healthcare. For some reason, the Democrats feel it's so important to offer healthcare to people who are here illegally in the country that they're willing to actually shut down the government over it. And then they want to turn around and blame Republicans. I mean, I just don't think that's really flying for them. It's not really working, shall we say. Here we go. Hakeem Jeffries decided to go out and do his little spin. It's Republicans, it's Republicans, it's Republicans. And so he did this little PR move. And I got to tell you, again, they just don't get it. Like, they just have no sophistication. I mean, they didn't even have any lights in the room, for goodness sakes. When you see this, I mean, this is the TV producer in me. I'm sorry. Hakeem, for goodness sakes, just turn on the lights. We can't even see you. And your charts, they look super boring. But let's watch it and laugh at it together.
Leader Schumer and I are in regular contact. House Democrats and Senate Democrats are in regular contact with each other. And I'm thankful for the fact that Senate Democrats have continued to strongly and boldly hold the line. What is John Thune doing? What are they doing? What, 5 times?
Okay, this is his attempt to blame the Republicans. Again, no lights and some really boring looking charts. Oh, they got one tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
They've brought this dead on arrival partisan Republican spending bill to the floor for a vote, and it's gone down 5 times. That's legislative insanity. Doing the same thing and expecting.
There's another meme. I'd say AOC and Nancy Pelosi are looking surprisingly good. Dios mío. You know, in other words, he's out there saying, it's the Republicans, it's Republicans, it's Republicans. And what are they doing? They're issuing another meme, right? With AOC twirling around in a nice little dress and the mariachi band in the background. In other words, they are just no match. And so when you look at their ratings right now and you see these numbers, there was another poll, Inside Advantage, that just came out yesterday. You can see Donald Trump is up more than 10 points with young people. I look at this one that came out from Quinnipiac rather recently, and the Democrats have never seen such horrible, horrible, horrible numbers. And then the New York Times came out with a poll, and what do you know? The New York Times Siena poll shows that Americans blame the Democrats for the shutdown, something that Chuck Schumer can't quite get his head around, and figures, well, the New York Times, they must be biased for Trump. He really said that. Look.
Now, I know the leader is going to show a poll that says that Democrats will be blamed for the shutdown. There are many more polls that show Republicans are blamed. The question in that poll is biased. Biased. In the New York Times, but it's biased. If you turn the... That's true. I don't always believe the New York Times. You can be sure of that. Neither do you. Okay.
I mean, the whole lot of them had to laugh at that, right? Because when Chuck Schumer is complaining about the New York Times being biased for Trump, well, the world must be really kind of upside down. But here's the deal. Chucky, no one likes you right now. You're not very popular right now because you guys keep lying to us. I'm sorry. We've had enough, okay? There's lots of money there, 1.5 trillion that you want to get extended. By the way, you only got this money during COVID. You guys slammed all this stuff in there when Biden came into office, and then you came up with trillions of dollars worth of spending. Well, guess what? We don't want it anymore. We're not going to pay for it anymore. And Americans voted against this and against you for a reason, in part because, yeah, we do want to put America first. Imagine that. They're having a tough time in Democrat circles living down this little thing called tape. Senator Jeannie Shaheen out of New Hampshire, live free or die, getting caught with her pants down on this one.
I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape of your Democratic Party members saying this on the debate stage. So they've all said it. Let's play the clip.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Senator, that's literally every member of your party, from moderate to more progressive, that have said that in the past.
Right? Like, what's she supposed to do then? My gosh. Wow. Well, that was embarrassing for her, but this is what I'm saying. Like, they keep trying to suggest something that is absolutely, totally untrue. And I think Americans have just gotten to the point where, we've kind of had it and we don't want to stand for that anymore. And we don't want to actually be lied to anymore. And this is the reality of the moment where we are. Okay. So you have to own up to everything that you have put forward, and you have to take accountability for that, whether it's the media, whether it's the FBI, or whether it's the Democrat Party. I mean, this was great. I mean, we know Jake is trying to get a job over on Fox, but nonetheless, it is good to see Hakeem Jeffries get called out, as he did here.
Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is, you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill, knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand that.
Why do that? Yeah, why do that? I love actually seeing these politicians get held accountable. Of course, they just try and spin their way out of the answers, but it was not a bright move. I mean, you're talking about $6.5 billion in California that went for healthcare for illegals, for hospitals, for emergency room treatments for illegals. And again, the what about us comment keeps coming back because Americans are saying, hang on, what about us? And Donald Trump is saying, I care about you, and I want to make sure that people who are not here legally in this country are going to get these benefits. Thus, this is why we're dealing with a shutdown right now. With that in mind, I want to just mention something about Big Pharma in all of this. President Trump is doing a lot right now in terms of trying to go where no president has gone before, holding Big Pharma accountable for ripping off everyday folks. But Big Pharma and its army of lobbyists are pretty powerful. They're working overtime to keep Americans paying the world's highest prescription drug prices. They are already hiking prices on hundreds of medicines this year, simultaneously flooding us with billions of misleading ads. Of course, those things that you see on TV, on the network TV. Not here, on the network TV for drugs that we may not need. And worse yet, Big Pharma pushes government mandates designed to stack the deck in their favor. Their goal in Washington is pretty simple. They want to escape accountability. They want to block free market competition, and they want to jack up outrageous prices. So this means more government intrusion. What does it mean? Bigger profits for them, of course, and higher costs for families and businesses. Conservatives for lower healthcare. I've partnered with them on this because it's important to remember what this Big Pharma agenda is. It sticks Americans and employers with billions of higher premiums and drug costs. I'll tell you, President Trump's not backing down. His administration is cracking down on drug companies that gouge Americans and mislead patients with obnoxious advertising. Meanwhile, conservatives in Congress are introducing reforms to stop Big Pharma's games and block generics and keep prices high. So join us right now and reject Big Pharma's agenda. Go visit pharmawindfall.com today to help lower drug prices. Again, that's pharmawindfall.com. You can see it there on the screen. I mean, the pharma industry is just insane, right? But they don't know what's hit them either. I mean, meanwhile, you got Letitia James in New York City saying, whoa, we don't know what's hit us. We got $18 billion getting cut from our infrastructure budget. Boy, that kind of is too bad, huh? But Letitia, it's just what happens when the Grim Reaper comes calling. Donald Trump has sent Russ Vought in there of Project 2025 fame, and Russ is basically taking a big red Sharpie to our budget. And he's looking for anything and everything that we don't need. And that includes $8 billion worth of energy projects, to nowhere in Democrat blue run states, and $18 billion in an infrastructure project to New York. I mean, you got to prioritize. He is prioritizing, importantly, Homeland Security. He is making sure that they put more money towards counterterrorism efforts in New York State and New York City, things that should be done. I mean, Biden was cutting all that money, for goodness sakes. Hey, defund the police. Who needs that? And we don't have to worry about overseas terrorism. We're just focused on the Catholic Church, right? And those Latin masses and school board meetings, for goodness sakes. I mean, it was just wild. Like, it feels like a really bad dream, but it was real, okay? I'm here to remind you, it was real, and we can't ever go back to those days again. Anyway, Mike Johnson doing an excellent job breaking it down. This is the reality of what happens. One Letitia James and Kathy Hochul. This is just how it goes. We got to make our choices. So be it.
Everybody needs to understand how this works. When Congress decides to turn off the lights, to shut the government down, it shifts the authority to the executive branch. That's how the process works. The person who has decided to put the White House in that situation is Chuck Schumer, who leads the Democrats, the 44 who keep voting to keep the government from opening up. They're voting to shut it down. So what happens in that situation? Whoever is the president, whoever is sitting in the White House, and their staffs at the Office of Management and Budget are given an unenviable task. It's a regretful situation. They have to then determine, since the spigots have been effectively turned off and there's no more money coming in, they have to then prioritize, triage effectively, federal spending. They have to look at all of that and say, which things are deemed essential and which are non-essential, which priorities, policies, and personnel must be kept to keep the government operating, and which are less of a priority. So whomever is sitting in the White House gets to then apply their lenses of review. We happen to have a Republican, a conservative administration. We're very grateful for that. We're limited government conservatives. We think the government's too big. We think the federal government is too big. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well. And so it serves the taxpayers to send less of their hard-earned money to Washington and keep more in their pockets. That's what we're advancing through the One Big Beautiful Bill and all the legislative priorities that we achieve. But see, sometimes Democrats, not sometimes, all the time, Democrats don't agree with that because they love big government. I mean, listen to them. They want the government to control every aspect of your lives, and they need all of your hard-earned dollars to do that. In fact, they'd like to take them all. That's what the socialists are arguing for. That's what the Marxists believe. We believe the opposite. So here's this situation. Here's the president, the current occupant of the White House, has been given this opportunity by Chuck Schumer. And he's a limited government conservative. He's looking at that and saying, gee, this is inefficient. This is ineffective. And we'd never get Democrat votes to limit that because they never vote to limit government, ever. It's against their religion. But he has that opportunity now to say this is a program that would serve the American people if it were not funded, because government would be more efficient and effective, and that serves everyone. So they're going to make those decisions.
You better believe they're going to make those decisions. And sure, they're hard decisions, but they have to be made. And it is the Democrats that actually gave him carte blanche. And so I think that's an important explanation. Mike Johnson did a really, really, really good job at that. I mean, nobody wants to have to fire anyone, don't get me wrong. But there is an overall belief, I think, from this administration that we need to get smaller. What do you think DOGE was about, right? Let's get smaller, let's get leaner and meaner, and let's not have such a big blow to government. I realize that it is a religion. AOC, she's never met $1 of yours that she doesn't want to have herself so that she can reallocate it and spend it however she thinks is most fit for the population. I mean, in her case, it's a tax the rich dress, literally a dress that she wants to adorn her body with to go to the Met Gala and then not compensate. That was a big scandal. Not compensate the people that provided her with that dress and the shoes and the car, etc. I mean, it's always a problem. Take your pick historically all around the world. Do you think it ever works? The short answer, no. Most recent example, very close to home, 2.5 hours from Miami, Venezuela, okay? It just doesn't work. Anyway, we got a market at the end of the day slightly lower. I wanted to just mention that because gold, people are getting a little bit more nervous about this shutdown and how long it's going to go on. It'll eventually resolve itself. I do think, when the market goes down, I'm never a long-term sort of fearful person of America. right? I believe long-term in what's going on. I believe in Maganomics and what they're trying to accomplish right now. And it's one of the reasons why I invested today. And, look, I have been telling you to buy gold, I think, since it was like 1,600, at least on this show. Not telling you, I should be careful about that. There's a little asterisk next to this because you do you. I invest for the long haul, and I look at certain things. I mean, gold is getting pricier. I get it right now. So you be cautious with what you're doing. I think one way to really, I'm going to make sure I have this on the screen. Do I have it? You can't really see it. I had 76 Research on the computer. I'm just going to put it up for you so that you can see. This is a company I started with my dear friend Rob, brilliant investor, spent 20 years on Wall Street as a mutual fund manager, one of the very, very best, just a great investor. And I'm not so shabby myself, but he's sort of, the full-on professional. Yours truly has good macro sensibility. I can talk about it and communicate it. And by the way, I was following Bitcoin from the time it was $10. $10. I didn't buy any of it back then. My husband did say, Trish, make sure when you get really good ideas in the future that, you have my authorization, you can go in. Anyway, I want to give you the authorization to go to 76research.com today. Go to 76research.com, sign up. It's just $1 a month for our 76 report. Really, really helpful information there about navigating these markets and understanding how to invest in a time like this and to take advantage of opportunities that come along the way, depending on your risk profile, right? But that's all sort of worked out in the newsletter. So go look at that. It's great to have you guys all here. Wow, we got a big show today. Lots and lots and lots of people. I've been looking at your comments in real time. Thank you for all your generosity. Thank you for your support. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't. We are live every day right here on the Trish Regan Show. I also want to remind you to look at Spotify. Yeah, we're over on Spotify now with the video. Not live, but after the fact, pretty close to it. So you can always catch the replay right there. I think I put it in the show notes. I believe I did. So go up to the show notes, check it out there. I will see you back here live on the show, the Trish Regan Show on the front lines of history tomorrow.